those of you who don't know me, I'm Cherish, and for those of you that do know me, welcome back to my channel. I made a video, I believe it was like my second video on this channel. It was, I think it was basically my life, like the story of my life. I had kind of done like a backstory. I redid, in seeing a couple other YouTube friends do the Draw My Life, but I kind of chose not to do a Draw My Life. I did a story of my life. I don't think I have released that one just yet. But this is a little bit more of an in-depth story, if you will, about a topic that I want to say I've been fighting with myself with basically releasing on my channel. I was going to do it at the 5-year mark, which was the year I was a little bit more active on my channel to begin with. So when I did finally start busting into my channel a little bit further, it was already well past the point when I should have been doing this video. Let me clarify. So today is November 12th, and now 8 years ago, it was the hardest day of my life. I am wearing a Donate Life shirt. I am doing green and blue nails. Ever since 2013 was probably the first year that I did, because obviously November 12th of 2012, I wasn't thinking about Donate Life. I'm trying to remind myself of everything that I went through and how far I've come and overcome, if you will. Almost to relive my past, but to also keep me from forgetting my past. Now, a lot of you who are subscribers do already know this entire story. So to those of you, if you want to keep watching, if it's hard for you to relive what happened, I would say don't watch. If it's not hard for you to watch, then go ahead and watch. But basically, there are names of people in the story that I want to talk about, but I'm not going to use anybody's names. My brother's probably. November 9th, 2012 was my birthday. My dad didn't want to go with us because we were going to Disneyland, so he couldn't really go with us. We left, went to Disneyland for my birthday, did the whole birthday thing, and we had talked about the 12th, we were going to go to John's Incredible. My brother and me had been talking for the entire month of November, basically, about this plan he had come up with. He was married at the time, but he was basically divorced. He had basically cut the tie after she put him in jail. He had cut the ties. So his relationship with her was no more. Despite what she may think, he was done with her. He had moved on. He already had a new girlfriend, whom he was madly in love with. Had actually told me he did plan on marrying her. And that was a big step for him, because the first time it kind of was more like a forced to get married situation because of the situation that he was dealing with. He felt like he was forced to get married. The beginning of November, he had talked about he wanted to come down the end of the week, and he was going to have us meet his girl, and he was going to immediately get the annulment so that he could move on and marry his wife. Or his girlfriend. That was what he wanted. He wanted his new wife. He'd been calling her this whole time his better half. I thought it was cute. Morning of the 12th, we got my dad up. We had late lunch plans, early dinner. Little did we know that this day, the whole world was going to change. Our whole world. As we knew it was going to change. Done dinner, my sister-in-law had been texting and trying to get a hold of my mom, but her phone was in her purse. She was not answering it. She finally texted me and said, "Your mom needs to call me now. It's an emergency." I told her immediately what happened. Now, we were finishing eating. My mom excuses herself to go call my sister-in-law. And she comes back, and I'm like, "What happened?" And then she was like, "I want you to be done eating before I tell you what happened." And luckily I was done. I'm like, "Oh, I'm full. What happened?" And she said, "Your brother had a car accident." My brother has been the wildest biker in the world. They had to identify him because he had forgot his wallet. And I guess he just figured, "Oh, well, I'll come back home from work and I'll go get my wallet." Sad part is, not only, the plan that he had to get married. When we were growing up, he always wanted to live in Vegas. He did. My older half-brother had been living in Vegas for a really long time. And when my brother went to Utah with his ex-wife, at the time they were together, when he went to Utah, got arrested, got out of jail, saw salvation going to live with my older half-brother. So he moved in with my older half-brother, and he had been like a bum for a minute, and then finally got himself a job. He had gone to get his license, and he put a pink dot on it. Of course, he had been like scaring the crap out of my older brother, because he had been like talking about like, "Oh, what would happen if I died on a bike? In a car accident with my bike," and stuff like that. It was kind of like he knew what was going to happen to himself. Well, the story goes, an 18-year-old, now he was 21 at the time, an 18-year-old was driving. My brother was waiting at the median. Thought he could go because he thought this kid was not going as fast as the kid actually was. The kid was probably going about 60, 65 on a main road, and slow to probably about 40 is what they're guesstimating. And my brother had crossed from the median and was heading towards my older brother's house when the dude hit him, going about 40. My brother flipped up on top of his car, and the car was toasted. A 6'5" dude who also weighed like 190 pounds. My brother was 6'11". Why am I thinking 6'5"? That's my older brother's height. He's 6'11". He's 6'5". But no, my brother was 6'11". Yeah, my brother was basically brain dead on the site. Across the street from the intersection, there had actually been an off-duty fireman who rushed to my brother's aid and put him in a neck collar, tried to save my brother, but there was nothing to save. My older half-brother was expecting a cable guy. Cable guy was late. My sister-in-law was like, "What happened? What's going on? Why are you so late? Why didn't you let us know?" And he said, "Oh no, there was a car accident. There was a bike, and a biker got hit by a dude." Somehow my sister-in-law was like, "Go get him." Automatically she knew. So my older brother goes out, and sure enough, it's our little brother. My little brother and me are a year and 6 months apart. My older half-brother is 7 years older than me. So for my brother, that would be a year and 3 months. Or 8 years and 3 months difference. Just to kind of give a bit of a timeline. Age line, whatever. Anyways, did tell his wife, it was him. My older half-brother hopped into a car to a hospital where they ran tests. My mom was in contact with the doctors. November 13th, my aunt flew a red-eye and got to us. So, when we got to the hospital, he was harvested on the 15th. It was the maximum amount of days that they could leave him on the machines, which my brother would not have wanted to permanently be. My mom had called his, at the time, still ex-wife. The wife had called her to tell her what happened, so she took a bus to Vegas and was already at the hospital when we got there. When we entered the hospital, my brother's ex-wife was there, and I acted friendly. One of her dads was at the hospital with her. I wanted nothing to do with him. I barely wanted anything to do with her. I was playing nice to keep the peace. That is what my godmother told me, was how come I acted the way I did. I was keeping the peace, and that is what I did. My sister-in-law already did not like her. My brother did not like her. Okay, it was very funny. They kept erasing her name off the little whiteboard, which so did I. Because we did not want her on the whiteboard. Half brother was already there, my sister-in-law. It was really hard for me and my brother. Like, brother walked out the room and like we were hugging for what seemed like forever because it was so hard. It's probably the hardest day of my life. Like I said, it was the hardest day of my life. And I think for me, it's because I never got to feel like I got to say goodbye. But that's what you feel with a lot of people that die, is you don't feel like you got to say goodbye. It's like my adopted grandmother. I never got to say goodbye to her. So imagine how 8 years feels. But we were sitting in the room. I think I couldn't stop crying for at least 2.5 hours. I know I just sat there crying. It was the hardest thing for me to ever do, was to look at my brother laying in a bed and know that he wasn't going to wake up and be himself ever again. When I look back at that day, I'm like, yeah, that was hard. It was hard to see him like that because it was the knowledge that I was never going to see those eyes open again. I was never going to hear him talk again. It was all going to be different. And it was the hardest part in the whole world. Even today, when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that was the worst feeling in my life, to know that my little brother wasn't going to be here anymore. My mom and my aunt were, of course, bustling around, trying to do whatever they were doing. Half the time I was not even focusing on them. I was too busy focusing on the fact that my brother was laying in front of me and he was never going to wake up. His girlfriend was there, and apparently the ex-wife already knew who she was and hated her from the moment she was there. When she left to go get clothes, because I guess one of her dads, he lived in Vegas, so they were going to go to a house and she was going to go get changed or whatever. So my mom and my aunt drove her over to this dad's house so she could go get dressed. And I will never forget going, oh my God, thank God she left. I didn't think she was going to. And my sister-in-law, she goes, you don't like her? And I was like, oh my God, no. I was like, I hate her. And she was like, oh, I thought you liked her. I was like, yeah, I have to pretend like I do. I'm trying to play nice. Even though I want to wring her neck. From the moment she took him to Utah, I wanted to wring her neck. So it was kind of like we were all in an equal playing field, that none of us liked her. I found out more about my brother's girlfriend, that she volunteered in that hospital. She knows everything that happened to him, all the tests they did, and that for sure he wasn't going to come back. And I knew it from the moment I walked in that hospital room that he wasn't going to come back. And it was the hardest thing to know and have to admit. And yeah, sat there. My mom and my aunt came back at one point, and they were kind of like touting themselves almost like know-it-alls. We're the only ones that know. And I said, actually, you're not. And I said, she actually volunteers here, and she does actually know what happened to him and all the tests that were run and stuff that you're not getting answers on. She actually knows. I don't know what possessed that to pop out of me, and I almost felt bad. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I put you on Boston. She's like, no, it's fine. But to me, it was like I was so tired of at that minute, it was like you and my aunt are just sitting there talking about you are know-it-alls because you're nurses. And it had pissed me off to the highest. I was already in a state where just give me one thing to pop off, and that's what I popped off on, but it was okay. She was able to talk about everything that she found out, and the stupid ex-wife is in there trying to tell us how we need to band together and stop this from happening. And I was like, he's gone, you idiot. Literally, I popped off on her. And I was like, he's gone. He's not coming back. He's dead, okay? Get that through your thick head. He's dead. Like, I was so mad, dudes. I was so mad. I was never so mad at her in my life. Especially when she was putting her foot in her mouth talking about how, there's a chance, there's a percent. No, he is gone. Let it be. I was so mad. The nurse had come in, and I guess to take him down to Harvest, they allow 2 family members to walk down with the body down to the coroner to have it removed. When she came in, she said that we needed to decide who all was going. My mom for sure was going. We knew that. It was going to be between me and my half-brother. I had told my half-brother, you should go. You should. He had tried at one point to say that I should. I was like, no, you go. Just, it's okay, you go. Here she comes, piping her big mouth in. Neither one of you are going. I'm going, because I'm going with her. My mom had already been determined that she was going. And that's what we wanted. We wanted her to go for sure, but we didn't want the ex to go. But she forced her hand and told us that neither one of us were going, unless our mom wasn't going. And then we could decide who. But she told us that she was going, and neither one of us had a choice. And you know what? At that point, we're like, screw it. And we backed down. My aunt unfortunately found out that day that I had been smoking. I hadn't left the room from the moment we got in there until I literally was about to snap her neck in half. And I had to leave the room to go smoke. The first time. No one really ever knew I did. But I had to. And then when I had come back, that's when they told us he was getting wheeled away. And my brother came out and we just hugged each other for a hot minute. As they were prepping to wheel him out, my brother's ex-wife, I think, expected that it was going to come stand next to her, be with her, and not the girlfriend. No. Girlfriend was my sister. She was my sister. I had already determined that, and I told her that. I said, just so you know, you're my sister. And I said, you were the last one to make my brother as happy as you did. You're my sister. And I know that little ex-wifey heard, because she looked at me, turned around, bawling her little eyes out. I was over the ex-wife. I was done, right then and there. I had already accepted my new sister. But we had to go downstairs and wait for my mom to come around. I guess while my mom and the ex-wife were down there, she started acting like a little frickin' 2-year-old. No, we have to stop. Don't do this. And my mom was like, you need to knock it off. Like, really snapped on her. It was too late. It's like, you know what, you need to quit. This is happening whether you want it or not. So that's what happened that day. We went back to my brother's house and barely ate any food and then drove back home. Unfortunately, she came with us to an actual church that my pastor was friends with the pastor. And we went there. We had the actual memorial. And then we had the ceremony, the one at John's Incredible, the get together with friends and family. We had that one before it, and then the actual memorial after it at the fellowship. So yeah, that is basically what happened. December 15th is the day he became a part of, or excuse me, November 15th is basically the day he became a part of Donate Life. December 15th is actually when we had the actual secondary funeral, whatever you want to call it. What is Donate Life? Donate Life is exactly what it says. You're giving a life or receiving life from an organ donor of any type. My brother became a part of Vegas Donate Life that day on November 15th, 2012. When he basically donated the eyes, the hair, the brain, the lungs, the kidneys, his heart, and vital organs, and his blood. He gave life to 5 people who we didn't get to find out much information about. My mom did write letters. My mom also wrote a letter to the 18-year-old that now would be almost 28, 2 years shy of 28. I don't know if that kid ever felt bad for what he did, if it ever impacted him as much as it impacted the rest of us. But for me, every year since, I know my mom doesn't want to celebrate the 12th. I'm not trying to celebrate it. I just don't want to forget when it happened. Granted, the 15th we celebrate because that's when he harvested, so we celebrate when he gave lives, and we call it his rebirth day. But I still don't want to forget the day that he was taken. I don't celebrate. I just don't want to negate it and pretend that it didn't happen until the 15th. He didn't die on the 15th. He died on the 12th. My grandfather died on the 22nd of February. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to sit here and forget when my grandfather died because he didn't donate organs to anybody. So, and that's like with my other grandmother. I don't want to forget the time that she died, May 30th. I don't want to forget that. And, or whenever it was. I think it was the 22nd and then the 30th was her funeral. I don't remember now. But I don't want to forget those things. I don't want to sit here and focus on crying my ass out and feeling terrible that they died those days. But I also don't want to forget what happened. And the fact that my life changed forever. Not having my little brother in my life. My PB&J. When I was growing up, me and my sister were PB&J. But ever since my sister became, in relationships, our PB&J kind of started sliding around more. But my brother, once my sister left, or December 2011, when she left, my brother and me just kind of became PB&J. We always wanted to be together. He sat down that January in the beginning of 2012, January in 2012, he said, you're always going to have to come outside when I come home and spend time with me. And forever and always, that will be the happiest thing that we ever did. Is always, and there were times like, dude, he would come home at like 1 a.m. And I was one time in bed already. He's like, come down. And I didn't want to, but I did. I'm so glad I did. So I went down there. And it was usually just a smoke and or drink, depending on what we felt like doing. Even if I didn't want to do anything, he would. He had come home at 1. And we were literally in that backyard talking and laughing and chilling until almost 6 a.m. And those are the memories that I forever am going to take with me. And I always want to remember those things. How much fun we could have together. The bond that I would say I had, even with my brother or with my sister, with my mom obviously, because, there's still a difference. She's still a mom. I still feel like there are things I can't talk to her about. So it is pretty hard at times. But I'm dealing. But this was the biggest thing that I had to do today. If I did nothing else, this is something I had to do. This means the most to me right now, to just put this out here. I know it's a really long video. I'm very sorry. For those of you who stuck around to the end, thank you so much for staying and understanding that this is something that has been really, really hard for me to want to put out. But I feel like today is the day that I have to put this out. As tired as I am from my weekend, I have to get this as something out. It's not going up. I want to try to get this up by the 15th. I want to. That is my goal, is to get this up by the 15th. If it doesn't, I'm going to be kind of sad, because this really is something I want up immediately. But there are a lot of other things that I do have to get up first too. But this was just very important to me to get heard. So I hope you guys accept my apologies for how long this video is, but understand the reasoning behind it. But yeah, so my brother's rebirth day is Sunday the 15th, and hopefully this will go live then. But I thank you guys so much for watching, those of you who made it to the end and stayed this whole long video. I do thank you guys so much. And that is all I have for you guys in this video. No, there's not a playlist, because I don't intend for another 5 or 10 years to make any other videos talking about this now that it's done. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.